So Dan Hurley turns down the Lakers. We talked about that yesterday. We've been talking about it the last couple of days. And we thought, yeah, it sounded like he wasn't going to take the job. Remember yesterday we talked about it when he said, he goes and meets with the Lakers and then he gives an interview saying, well, yeah, the Lakers made a compelling case and, the stuff that they said, yeah, it's very compelling and makes a lot of sense. I like what they got going on. If somebody's saying that, they're not taking the job. They're not taking the job, man. They're not. They like what you had to say, but they're not interested. And turns out he was not interested. It turns out that Dan Hurley had a lot of conviction because his thing was all about culture, culture, culture. Well, it's hard to preach culture and then go around and go take a higher bag from somebody else. But here's the thought. Let me ask you guys your thought on this, on the Lakers. And I heard this yesterday online, and my first thought was, this is wild. What are you talking about? But then I started thinking, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. The Lakers lowball all their coaches. They lowball everybody. They didn't get, and they try to dictate to you when it comes to a coach who your assistants are going to be. Remember, that's why Ty Lue didn't take the job. Because Ty Lue was like, you're not going to tell me who I'm going to hire to be my assistants. You guys can kick rocks. I don't need this job. And turns out he didn't. So they did the same thing to Frank Vogel. They lowballed him and told him who his assistants were going to be. Did the same thing to Darvin Ham. But then they, to get Dan Hurley to take the job, next thing you know, they offer him $70 million? What is that about? Why would he leave UConn for $70 million? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, at least offer the man $100 million to get him thinking. $70 million. Let me get this straight. I'm making 32. I'm in a contract or in talks with him. So now the reports are they had already been in talks about him getting $50 million before he even met with the Lakers. So for an extra $20 million, I'm going to give up what I built? No, I'm not going to do that. And he didn't. But the Lakers don't have that kind of money. Now, I know what you're thinking. Brian, you're crazy. Big B, shut up. The Lakers are full of money. Well, the franchise is full of money. But if you do a deep dive, number one, the Buses don't own 100% of the Lakers. Number two, their money is not tied up, or it's all tied up with the Lakers. Like, they didn't make their money outside of that. Jenny Buss is not some millionaire or billionaire, excuse me. She's not a billionaire. She don't have billions of dollars. She's not Steve Ballmer or some of these other billionaire owners. So they didn't want to give them $100 million because maybe they didn't have $100 million to give them. Did we think about that? They're like, yeah, we can't give this guy $100 million. We can't pay a coach $100 million. Because remember, the coach's money doesn't come out of, the salary cap and all that. It's not part of that. That's basically an owner paying somebody to run his team. They don't have $100 million. Or they definitely didn't want to give him $100 million. And I'm just thinking, well, yeah, that probably makes sense. Who would have thought the Lakers can't afford to buy a coach? Who would have thought? The Lakers just can't afford. Either they couldn't afford it, or they really just want to hire J.J. Redick and say, oh, well, we tried. We couldn't get him. But it was a lowball offer. So, like I said, the Lakers, I don't know who wants the job. I mean, somebody eventually is going to get it. If they hire J.J. Redick, it'll be one of the biggest laughing stocks that I've ever heard. And as a LeBron fan, I will not be able to say anything about LeBron is not pulling the punches and pulling the strings on what's going on. Nobody will be able to say that. Sorry. Now, here's a good comment. My man says, bring Phil Jackson back. That's what the Lakers need. They bring Phil Jackson back. There is a 0 chance that LeBron James will be there. There is a 100% chance that Anthony Davis will ask for a trade. So they can bring Phil Jackson back if they want to. And maybe that is what they need. Maybe they just need a fresh start and start completely over. I'm not opposed to that if you're a Lakers fan and say, you know what, we got to start over. But if you bring Phil Jackson back, LeBron ain't coming and AD's going to ask out. That I know for a fact. So, a good question, Pat. I don't know why JJ Redick is even an option. I have no clue. It's kind of the same reason why I had no clue, and the rest of the basketball world had no clue on why Steve Nash was an option. At least Steve Nash had tried to, he was working behind the scenes as an analyst, working with players. At least he was doing that. JJ Redick's not even doing that. JJ Redick's just been on ESPN calling games and doing a podcast. There's no doubt that JJ Redick is super smart. Hell, he wouldn't have been able to play in the NBA for as long as he did if he wasn't smart. He didn't have all the athletic tools. He could shoot, but JJ Redick knew how to play basketball. But just because you know how to play basketball doesn't mean you know how to coach basketball literally at the highest level. Doesn't mean you can resonate with people. Doesn't mean that you can galvanize grown men. Doesn't mean you're a leader of men. Doesn't mean any of that. And so for people to just assume that he's going to be fine, I think is asinine. But I don't know. I think it's a horrible look, to be quite honest with you. I think it's a horrible. I don't think JJ Redick has any business being a head basketball coach of anything at this time. Nope. You know, and again, I know I'll get accused of this. I don't like when assistant coaches get passed up, deserving coaches get passed up for people that haven't earned the job. For instance, why isn't Mark Jackson getting a head coaching job? How come we can't hire Mark Jackson? I mean, he built Golden State. Now, don't get me wrong. Steve Kerr took it to another stratosphere. But he started it. And he didn't get along with the owners. That's why Mark Jackson got fired. He didn't get along with the owners. Seems like he's been blackballed because why hasn't he gotten another chance? We've seen guys like Doc Rivers go be thrown around the league a million times. You know, Frank Vogel. Well, I think Frank Vogel is actually a good coach. We've seen him get a million opportunities. I mean, we've seen these coaches bounce around and bounce around and bounce around. Why can't Mark Jackson bounce around? Like, why can't he get another job? Although I think he's better on television. I think ESPN made a horrible mistake by getting rid of him. And it's not because I don't like JJ and Doris Burke, because I think those guys are fine. I just thought Van Gundy and Mark Jackson were better. But why can't Mark Jackson get another head coaching job? What's he done? I don't know, people. It's silly. It's silly. Darren Howard wants JJ Redick to get the job because he wants him off his screen. Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Like I said, JJ's fine. He's fine. I just don't think he deserves a head coaching job in the NBA. I don't think he deserves that. I think there's plenty, like Sam Cassell. How long are we going to make Sam Cassell be an assistant coach? I mean, everybody around the league talks about how good of a coach that Sam Cassell is, how he galvanizes players, how players love him. How long are we going to make him be an assistant before he gets a head coaching job? What are we doing? But you can hire JJ Redick? Give me a break. You know, you can have Doc Rivers, Mr. 3-1, Doc Rivers, bounce around the league 75 times. We can allow that? You know, come on. Gee, many Christmas. It's crazy. It's just crazy what's going on, some of these decisions. Come on, Lakers, hire Mark Jackson and be done with it, man. And if LeBron don't like it, let LeBron go. Let him go. At some point, Lakers, you got to restart this thing anyway. You know, hire Mark Jackson, earn some credibility back, and go build this thing again. But hiring JJ Redick, which personally, I don't even think JJ Redick's going to get the job. I think that was a smokescreen and a rumor. So, smokescreen and a rumor.